So last night I saw Venom, Let There Be Carnage, the sequel to 2018's Venom, and the second film in Sony's Spider-Man universe, which, well, yeah, has spawned 2 films so far, just the Venom movies, and next year we'll have Morbius. So, yeah, their universe is getting to a slow start. I should probably get my thoughts on the first Venom before I get into Let There Be Carnage. I think it's okay. I know a lot of people hate it. I know a lot of people really like it. I think it's okay. It's fine. I like the dynamic between Eddie and Venom. I like some of the action scenes. The final battle's atrocious, but every action sequence up to that point was pretty good. But it suffers from a lackluster story, a villain who's just boring. And again, the final battle is terrible. Though it does have some like small things I really liked about it too. Like I liked how like Anne's new like boyfriend, I guess, in it, was not the stereotypical new boyfriend. He actively tries to help Eddie out. He treats him like a friend, and that carries over into this film as well, but we'll get to that in a bit. So now we have this sequel, Let There Be Carnage, where one of the Spider-Man villains that people have been wanting to see on the big screen for years is Carnage, but we've never really gotten that treatment. We've seen him in plenty of animated shows, ranging back all the way to the 90s show, all the way up to Ultimate Spider-Man. I don't know if he was in the 2017 show, but I highly doubt it, considering that is a very childish show, and it sucks. So, Ultimate Spider-Man, I think, was the last time we saw Carnage, even in TV shows. And he's appeared in a few different games. He was in Ultimate Spider-Man, he was in the original PS1 Spider-Man game, and he's in Shattered Dimensions, and he was the final boss in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 game. So, I was really stoked to see him in this film, especially since he was teased in the mid-credit scene of the first one. And yes, I know everybody has made fun of that stupid wig, so I'm not going to get into it, but they gave him a better one here. So, now we finally get to see Carnage on the big screen, and not only that, he's not the only villain in this movie. There is also Shriek making her big screen debut as well. And yeah, I know everybody has said this already, but they are the best part of this film. Woody Harrelson and Naomi Harris are great villains here. Yeah, I know the trope of they're not really trope. The way the villains are usually just crazy people are usually pretty boring villains. That's why I hate Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor so much. Because he doesn't have an ideology. He doesn't really have motivations. Here, it's Carnage and Shriek basically. They want to be reunited, and they want to get revenge on the people who, the people who wronged them. Like, Shriek wants to kill the cop, Mulligan, who shot her eye out in the beginning of the film. And Carnage essentially wants to help her with that, occasionally killing a bunch of people, but that is one issue I have with this, is that there is very little Carnage, pun intended. There is a little, when the scenes actually get going of him killing people, they're really cool, and there is a high body count. There are some really cool scenes that I could see with a movie involving Carnage. Like, for example, when Cletus is just driving across a bridge, Carnage literally just, grabs, a van or something on the bridge and just throws it off the bridge for absolutely no reason. He didn't, there was just no reason for it, but that's the kind of fun stuff I like with Carnage, but there's you're definitely not getting maximum Carnage here. If you read the comics, you know it's Venom, or not Venom, Carnage, trying to take over the world, essentially, and he's, bigger than the entire city, and you don't really get that here. So, yeah, that's my one big complaint, is that it feels way too small. This movie feels too small. And that might be due to the hour-and-a-half runtime. I did appreciate that this was a pretty quick movie, that it didn't try to drag itself out to 2 hours. But I feel like this needed to be a much bigger story. The first one was bigger scale than this one, because the entire world was at stake there, where if they got all the symbiotes onto Earth, the human race was screwed. So, but this one, it seems again, very little killing actually happens. You have a serial killer as your villain, yet he doesn't really go on any killing sprees, unless he's breaking into a prison or something. It's really odd. And there's also the fact that at one point he's just kind of walking around. He's able to just walk around. Nobody recognizes him. Are you kidding me? He's literally public enemy number one at the moment. And he's just waltzing through the streets of San Francisco. Come on. I know it's San Francisco, but somebody's bound to notice. But, so yeah, that's my biggest complaint about the movie, is that it feels too small. This needed to be a take over the world plot. I don't care. This needed to be... I saw another reviewer say this as well, but yeah, this needed to be a take over the world plot, not just a simple revenge or reuniting with the past lover plot. It needed to be bigger. But that may be my only complaint with the movie. Unfortunately, it is a pretty big one, but let's get into the good stuff. Eddie and Venom are hilarious here. You can tell they took the best aspects of the first movie and put them in the forefront here. It's not trying to take itself as serious, because the first 30 minutes of Venom tried like the slow build-up as if it's taking itself that seriously, and that was the worst part of the movie, was the first 30 minutes. And then you have the comedy between Eddie and Venom was like... What people really liked about the first one was their camaraderie, and they put that in the forefront here, which is really good. And like I said, they ditched the slow build-up. He's already with Venom, of course, so there isn't as much... I'm trying to think if there was as much action as the first one. There are some really cool action sequences here. And one thing that this film did way better than the other one was the shot layout. Because when it comes... Especially in the final battle. The final battle in the first one... There were so many times where Venom and Riot kept jumping in and out of frame. The camera was moving too much. You couldn't see what was happening half the time. This one, the camera is put in strategic positions. You can see it. You can see what's going on perfectly fine. And it's really well done. I like the final battle, since there wasn't a ton of action, is that they made the final battle pretty long. It was like a 15-minute battle, and I really liked that. And when it's Venom versus Carnage, you'd want a longer battle. And I do like at the end that there are a couple of shots that I can tell referenced Amazing Spider-Man 2. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and I know because of how those shots were set up, it could not have been a coincidence that those shots looked like Amazing Spider-Man 2. You'll know exactly what two shots I'm talking about when you see the movie. And so the rest of the action in the film is pretty good. We only get one fight between Venom and Carnage, and that was kind of a letdown, but it was, like I said, it was a really long fight, and it was really good. And I like how this movie... Okay, well, I'm talking the action. I'll get to what I was about to say in a bit. There was a scene where Carnage breaks into Ravencroft. And it was a really cool scene, and they got away with some pretty gruesome deaths for a PG-13 movie. And yeah, had this been an R, they would have gone all out with it, same thing as the first one, but they needed to tone it down to PG-13 so they could maximize the audience, and it worked. You can tell they're maximizing their audience work. The first one made over $800 billion worldwide, and the theater I went to was nearly sold out. It had a lot of people under the age of 18. I know there were multiple people that brought their kids with them in that theater, so you can tell their PG-13 strategy is working for them. And so there was that fight, there was the end fight. Venom doesn't really have any action sequences himself. Most of the action sequences come down to Carnage and Shriek. And honestly, that's fine. And I do kind of like I like the relationship between Carnage and Shriek. I don't think they were romantically involved in the comics. I know they were, partners in the comics. They kind of worked together, but I don't remember if they were romantically involved. I can't remember, but it worked. I really liked the two of theirs chemistry. It was really funny to watch. And I think the action sequences they had together were great. And I think it's really funny that a symbiote who is vulnerable to sound is working with somebody whose power is high-pitched frequency, which is his weakness. I just find that hilarious. I think that's the point. You're supposed to find that kind of ironic, but I just find that hilarious. And I like how this movie opens, where it opens we're going all out with this. The first few minutes of this are absolutely insane. It kind of slows down for a while, but except when it gets to the Carnage stuff. That stuff, I think it was trying to balance everything out, which is why there aren't that many action sequences with Venom. There's one really bizarre scene where Venom's at a rave, and okay. It was a fine scene. I just thought it was odd. And I suppose I can't talk about this without talking about the end credit sequence. Without giving too much away, even if you haven't seen the movie, you probably figured out what it is. It sets up something really big for the upcoming Marvel movies. It sets up something that honestly I kind of expected. The second Venom started talking about his other knowledge, I knew exactly what was coming. And you know what? I didn't mind. I thought it was really cool. I liked how they were tying these together, and I'm excited for what's to come. Trying to think. Special effects look pretty good. They look about the same as the first one. They look pretty good. Like I said, the action sequences are well done. So the effects are like I said, they're good. They're kind of cartoonish looking, but I think that's the idea. I don't think that's an accident because they needed the symbiotes to be more expressive. And something I did like that I noticed when the trailer dropped is that Venom and Carnage, how they morph or how they change into the symbiote is different. Venom kind of like overtakes Eddie's body as if he's like putting on a suit. It's kind of like Iron Man's nanotech suit. Carnage, it's like Cletus like kind of morphs into him. And I really like that. Especially since they got the symbiote two different ways. And how Cletus got the symbiote, like how he got a part of Venom, was actually pretty creative. And I like how the end, how they defeat Carnage. And unlike the first one, this one utilizes of course, has the PG-13 F-bomb, just like the first one, but unlike the first one, it utilizes it pretty well. It's actually pretty funny. Because I knew that entire final battle, I'm like, okay, where's the F-bomb? It's going to come up in this final battle. Where is it? And there it is. So, yeah, I had a good time with Venom Let There Be Carnage. I think whether or not you'll like this movie is mostly based on what you thought of the first movie. If you liked the first movie, you'll like this one. If you were like, okay, I think the first movie's okay, you'll probably like it. If you didn't like the first movie, you probably won't like this one. You'll probably think it's better than the first one. I haven't seen like any reviews that say the first one's better, because honestly, this one is way better. And yeah, that's all I got for Venom Let There Be Carnage. 4.25 out of 5. That seems really high to some people, I know, but I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. I just wish the movie had been a bit bigger in terms of scale. I wish the stakes had been higher. But other than that, job well done. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe for more reviews like this, and what did you think of Venom Let There Be Carnage? Are you going to go see it? What do you think of the first one? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was okay like I did? And what did you think of this one? So, yeah, that's all I got for Venom Let There Be Carnage. So, see you later. Yeah, I know that was a lame outro. I got nothing for this one.